This post may be a bit long, so I apologize for that in advance. For some background information, I'm twice divorced and I have an 8-year-old son. His name is Ethan. I had him with my first wife, whom I divorced about 4 years ago because we just weren't getting along anymore. We still don't to this day. However, we do set up a time every now and then for Ethan to go out and see his mother, whether it's going out and getting ice cream, going to a museum, etc. Our house is not that big. I bought it about a year ago, and since it would be just us and our cat, Ziggy, I figured to just get a one-story house. It's just a living room, a kitchen, a couple bathrooms, my bedroom, his bedroom, and a guest room. So yeah, not really exciting. Ethan's room is manifested with superhero shit. Posters, notebooks. He loves to draw. Pretty beautiful stuff, actually. And even his bed sheet. If I had to say how much money I spent on his room, I'd say about at least $2,000. That's how much stuff he has. I work as a store clerk at Walmart, but I do make some really good money, surprisingly. Ethan's a great kid. If anything ever happened to him, I would go out and try to save him, even if I die in the process. Now, I decided to take a few weeks off from work because I've worked nonstop every weekday for 10 months ever since January of this year. So, I stayed home. And the weekends, if Ethan wasn't doing anything with his mother, were really fun. He went to school Monday through Friday, of course, so I really only have Ziggy as company when I sit down, crack open a beer, and relax all day. A few days ago is when things started to get a little strange. Ethan's room is literally only a few steps away from mine, so I can see whatever he's doing in there, even when I'm laying down watching TV or doing stuff on my phone. To the left of his bed is a big window, which looks out into the nearby forest and half of our driveway. It was in the middle of the night. I don't remember what time it was exactly. The moon was looming in the sky, brightening up the sky. You would think it's nearing morning. It was also pretty windy, even with the loud fan I have in my room. You could still hear it. I woke up to the wind blasting into a tree and a tree branch slamming into the house, and it shook me awake. I was breathing heavily because even though I'm past my 20s, it still scared me a little bit. I turned my head and looked into Ethan's room to see if he was asleep. He wasn't. In fact, he was out of his bed standing in front of his bedroom window, staring out at, well, I wasn't too sure. I was feeling a mixture of confusion and worry. He wasn't moving, not a muscle. You would think he'd turned into a statue. I petted Ziggy, who was laying down on my pillow next to my head, and I got up to start slowly walk out of my room into Ethan's room. It was even more surreal when I got closer to him. He still wasn't moving. Even when I said his name and when I walked in. He didn't react in the slightest, and even his breathing was very little. I moved a little closer to look at his face. He didn't look at me. He wasn't moving his eyes. He was just looking straight ahead. I looked out the window to look at whatever the hell he was looking at, and I saw nothing. It was just the forest and half of the driveway. Nothing was out there. I grabbed Ethan by the shoulders and started to shake him to snap him out of it, but he was still not reacting. He still kept looking straight ahead out the window. And it wasn't until I turned his head to look at me when he finally reacted to what I was doing. When I did this, he started blinking a ton of times and looking around, confused, clueless on what just happened. What? Ethan said, sort of murmuring it. What were you looking at? I asked him, still holding on to his shoulders. I kneeled to one knee to meet his height. I don't know. I don't remember anything. I didn't say anything else to him. I just picked him up, tucked him back into bed, and said goodnight to him and went back to sleep myself. The next night, the same thing happened. I woke up in the middle of the night because of the wind again. The time was about 3 a.m. and I yet again saw Ethan up from bed in the same spot, staring out of the window, not moving. I sighed, got up, and slowly walked into his room and said his name. He didn't react and didn't move, not even a little bit. I was getting annoyed. I walked closer to him and saw again that his eyes were just staring straight ahead, out the window. I looked out again to see if there was anything out there this time, and there wasn't. I thought in my head that this was getting ridiculous. I turned his face to me again, and just like the other night, he started blinking a ton of times and looked clueless. Buddy, you need some sleep. Quit getting up to look out your window. I pick him up and put him back into his bed. I don't remember getting up, I swear, Ethan exclaims to me. I tell him to quiet down so he doesn't wake the neighbors and tell him I don't have time for this. We say goodnight to each other. He goes back to sleep and I do too. Yesterday night, the same exact thing happened. And I'm not gonna go through it for the third time because it was the same as the last 2 nights. I woke up, saw Ethan staring out his window, not moving again, and just looking straight ahead, not reacting to anything I said to him. However, this time, when I walked into his room, I saw a piece of paper on his bed. Now, earlier at dinner, Ethan was drawing something with the new crayon pack I had bought him earlier that day. Though I wasn't paying attention, as I was watching a football game and eating my ham and cheese sandwich, but I could tell that Ethan was focused on his drawing. I could tell it was the same drawing, so I took another skeptical look at my oblivious son and picked the piece of paper up. And to no surprise, it was a drawing. I didn't take a good look at it yet, and it already looked tremendously detailed. But when I took a look at the actual drawing, with the current situation going on, I was disturbed. Ethan had drew a boy that represented himself, staring out a window, with the words at the top of the paper, "I see it." That had disturbed me, because it was extremely vague, and it had scratchy handwriting, and Ethan's handwriting is typically very nice. I put the paper in my pocket, not sure what to even think about what I had saw, and snapped Ethan out of the phase he was in, getting more mad at him this time around, but he still claimed he didn't remember getting up from bed. I put him back to bed as normal. I stayed up a little bit more when I got back in my bed, studying the picture really closely, as if I had lost my vision, and I had to put my head really close to the paper and squint just to see it. My son had never drawn anything cryptic before, let alone said anything cryptic, so not only did this picture concern me, it honestly kind of scared me. What could there possibly be about that window that causes Ethan to get up every night and stare out of it? I put the drawing in the drawer of my nightstand and I went to sleep. Today was normal. Ethan had school off today and I had a lot of fun activities planned for the day. I also let him know that tomorrow he would be going over to hang out with his mother for the day, and he seemed pretty excited to hear that news. My ex-wife had more money than me, so she could afford to take Ethan out on better trips than I ever could. I didn't let that get in the way, though. Me and Ethan went out and played in the park. We swung on the swings and slid down the slides, and even made a couple of new friends there too. And as a parent, that's always great to see. We went to see the new Ron's Gone Wrong movie, which Ethan loved, and I'll admit, I liked it as well. The last thing we did that day was going to a petting zoo, which costed $60 damn just to let us both in. They practically stole my money. But all I cared about was Ethan having fun and interacting with the animals. He loved the goats so much that he cried when he had to leave and go home. The last thing we did was Ethan telling me a story he wrote in school yesterday while I cooked dinner. And it was childish, but I couldn't help myself but laugh at a couple of parts. I hadn't mentioned him and his window at all to him. I didn't really want that conversation. That night, I struggled to go to sleep. because I was worried that Ethan would get up in the middle of the night again and stare out of his window. But nonetheless, the background noise of the TV in my room helped me put myself to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night again to what sounded like footsteps outside. I couldn't tell where it was coming from, and all I could think was that I just wanted to go back to sleep. But I remembered about how in the previous 3 nights, Ethan had gotten up to stare out of his window, and I dreaded looking and seeing it again because I was getting tired of it. I wanted to spend my midnight asleep, not putting my son back to bed. So I checked as Ziggy meowed at me. He wasn't up and staring out of his bedroom window. You would think that was a good thing, but it wasn't. I would have actually preferred him to be staring out of the bedroom window. Because as I type this, and as I'm currently calling the cops, Ethan isn't in his bed. He isn't anywhere in the house. Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to another video. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you next time.